What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more fighting. UFC 193. Let's talk about it. Ronda Rousey got absolutely destroyed by Holm. So, first and foremost, I hope Ronda Rousey makes a speedy recovery anytime you suffer that type of brutal knockout. You know what I'm saying? I want to wish that fighter a speedy recovery. In boxing, we've seen guys like Pritchard Cologne going comas and stuff. So I do want to wish her a speedy recovery. As for Holm, splendid, spectacular performance, flawless. She was surgical out there tonight. And let me just break it down, man. Holmes, she did the unthinkable. And if you really analyze fighting sports, it's really not as big of a upset as people claim it to be or make it out to be. The reason it's being labeled an upset is because they sold you a product in Ronda Rousey. Yes, she does have an Olympic pedigree. She is a good fighter, but they also boosted her making swimsuit Sports Illustrated appearances in movies like Entourage and movies like Fast 7. I mean, she's this generation's or the new version of like a Gina Carano, who is a good fighter, but she's also getting a level of um, limelight, spotlight that some of the other fighters aren't getting. And for that reason, because she's so marketable and they were boosting her as the star and unbeatable, a lot of people, they create this aura of invincibility around her. She's good, especially with the armbar. Her takedown game is generally good, but it just so happens when it comes to standing up, she just can't coexist with the premier names. And Holm showed you that. The thing I think that hurt Ronda Rousey is I think she herself, and this is a foolish mistake that fighters do when they buy into their own hype, when they feel like invincible and unstoppable and that they don't have to train hard. You know what I mean? Even things like people get mad when I bring up Floyd Mayweather, right? But you guys were the ones pitting Floyd Mayweather against Ronda Rousey. And I talk about Floyd Mayweather, things like his discipline to the sport to stay undefeated for 19 years against elite level fighters and competitions, right? And the thing is, that's not an easy thing to do. Not everyone can do. And tonight was, it made that evident. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when you get people like Ronda Rousey, I think maybe her being in movies and stuff, she developed like this persona, you know what I mean? Maybe, I'm not saying she doesn't train hard, but it's hard to balance a life of like photo shoots and doing movie roles and cameos and talk shows and still be as hungry. I think it was, I don't want to screw it up, but it might have been Marvin Hagler said it's hard to get up and run 6 to 8 miles in the morning when you're in silk pajamas, meaning when you achieve that level of success. And I think that's kind of, and I'm not taking anything away from Holm, but I think that's kind of what happened with Ronda Rousey. She started to believe and buy into her own hype. The problem is you got people that want what you have. They want that title. They want the recognition. And that's exactly what Holm wanted, and that's exactly what she got. She destroyed. She beat down Ronda Rousey. Now, it was a second round knockout. The kick is what I guess created the knockdown. But even before that, she had Ronda Rousey confused, befuddled, frustrated, with no answers. Her face was bleeding. Her nose was bleeding, and she couldn't get in range. So Holm, using her boxing and kickboxing background, she controlled the distance, which is what what they teach you in boxing, controlled the distance and made it a stand-up game. There's one point where she was able to get out of it. Ronda Rousey was able to take her down, and she was able to get out of it, so there was no armbar or whatever. So she obviously worked on that in her training camp, and she went back to business, and she was raining left hands like she was Edislani Laura. She was just bombing on Ronda Rousey. And again, Ronda Rousey's not built for that type of game. And I think, again, in my opinion, I think Ronda Rousey bought into her own hype. Like the Betch Correa, she had a Betch Correa. The thing is, Betch Correa isn't the skill level striker as a Holm. You know what I'm saying? And Holm is also, I believe, taller in terms of like actual statistics than like a Betch Correa, and she has more power. So all around, Holly Holm is a better fighter. So you look at Ronda Rousey, I think she bought into her hype because she had a stand-up game and she's going toe-to-toe, slugging it out. She was getting hit in that fight. But she was able to overpower Betch Correa and knock her out because Betch Correa didn't have the countering ability and the striking skill of a Holly Holm or somebody better. So watch that fight again. Even when like the knockout was created by Ronda Rousey, Betch Correa was countering her a little bit, and Ronda Rousey's just taking headshots. So when you're in there with an immaculate striker and boxer like Holly Holm, you're destined for trouble. You no head movement. You can't just the brain and your skull is not intended to take blunt force trauma. And Ronda Rousey, she's not a striker. You know what I'm saying? And she was getting peppered and just brutalized by Holly Holm's left hand. And that's what created most of the damage and got her out of her element to the point where she could even land the kick. So a lot of people, they say, oh, Ronda Rousey, she would have beat Floyd Mayweather. And the only reason Holly Holm won is because she kicked her. But she was losing the fight even before the kick took place. She was losing just from punches from Holly Holm. So dead that whole Ronda Rousey, Floyd Mayweather stuff. I told you guys from the jump, check for consistency. I told you what would happen if Ronda Rousey were to, in an artificial world, fight a Floyd Mayweather. And some of you guys who are just idiots, you wanted to run around with this. And trust me, I'm not trying to take away too much from Holly Holm's victory. So I'm going to put it in a separate video, an Eagle Valley video. Eagle Valley will speak on this. But I will address Oscar De La Hoya, the comparisons, and all the shit talking about Ronda Rousey will defeat Floyd Mayweather and boxers, and her being on the Ring magazine. She's conquered MMA. Is boxing next? Hell no, because she was just in there with the boxer and she got obliterated, right? In 2 rounds. And again, this was before the single kick came. Her face was bloody. She had no answers for Holly Holm striking, controlling the distance. And that's, unfortunately, I always tell people, it's one thing to see a fighter do what they're already good at. You know what I'm saying? I love to see a fighter who is forced to adapt, because then that's when we get to see what they're really made of. When what they normally do and it doesn't work finally against somebody, what will they do? And then with Ronda Rousey, when her takedown game didn't work and she was in there with a brilliant striker, we seen what would happen. So like when I see fighters like Gennady Golovkin, he's a great fighter, but I do want to see him in there with better competition, because at the end of the day, his plan A seems to work, right? It just seems to work. Overpowering guys, brute force, good counterpunching, and things like that. So I want to see somebody who could take his power better, or whatever the situation. So that's what I always want to see in a champion. I don't want to just keep seeing you beat the person or whoever's in front of you with whatever you like, whatever game plan you initially come out with, and that's the game plan that always works. You know what I'm saying? I want to see you have the ability to adapt. And Ronda Rousey, when it was a mostly stand-up game, she didn't really have an answer for that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what she needs to work on. I mean, she was just eating shots, and she should have tried to get Holm on the ground as soon as possible. Keep going for that with I guess a better defense or whatever. So again, shout out to Holly Holm. She did her thing. She looked good out there. They're talking about a rematch. We'll see what Ronda Rousey says when she gets better out of the hospital and stuff like that. But Holly Holm made the boxing community proud, because she does have a boxing background, and she looked good out there. I have no complaints with what she did. She was humble. She, you know what I'm saying? She stuck to a game plan and she executed, and she was the underdog. And again, I think a lot of that is because of the public, of the Dana Whites and Oscar De La Hoya and all these people promoting Ronda Rousey as if she's invincible. Like, we still got to see that. That's why, if you look at my channel, like I say, check for consistency. I always maintain I want to see her fight Chris Cyborg. I always maintain that she wouldn't do good against boxers, or she couldn't beat a Floyd Mayweather. But you have a lot of these other idiots running around here saying she'll beat Mayweather, Cyborg is easy work and stuff like that. Now, do you believe Cyborg would be easy work? Another striker who's bigger, mass wise than a Holly Holm. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but again, people, they get infatuated with what is sold to them. And again, Ronda Rousey, she's a good fighter, but she needs to go back to the drawing board and figure some things out, like her defense, how to get someone to the ground when they're good striker. You know what I mean? She has to find something, because she's not gonna. I want to see what this does, even in a rematch, because sometimes mentally that was a brutal knockout loss. They're making jokes and memes and stuff. That's an embarrassing loss. So we'll see. We'll see what Ronda Rousey, how she bounces back, if she bounces back like a true champion and can avenge this. But it wasn't looking good. She was getting bombed on. Drop it in the comment section. The Ego Valley video will be coming shortly. Stay tuned for that. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.